This is you at Smith's Cove, Oak Island, Nova Scotia, Canada.
As you see, there's been some work going on here. Wish I could tell you what. Anyway, this is the spot somewhere here, and we don't know for sure, that in 1795 those three young boys allegedly found this depression in the ground. Right? So they go home to Chester and they get picks and shovels and pry bars and buckets and all the equipment they can lay their hands on, according to the story. Come back, dig down about 2 feet, thinking that it's pirate treasure, right? Because they brought stories of pirates from northeastern United States. The people who were living here at the time were called planters, the planters. They came, it was prior to the American Revolution, so there was a large influx of northern New Englanders into the Chester, this whole area, Lunenburg and what have you. So they come over here and they dig down. At 2 feet, they go through a layer of flagstones. At 10 feet, they hit a layer of oak logs embedded into the sides of the shaft. This is a well-defined, according to the story, 13-foot diameter shaft. They can see trick marks in the sides of this hard clay. The story is they get down to maybe 25, 30 feet and realize it's too much for three young boys. Now, when I tell you that they've been searching for treasure for 221 years, that's not entirely true, because there's periods of inactivity when nothing happens on Oak Island. And the first period is not until 1803, when a company comes here from north of Truro called the Onslow Company. Onslow is a little community north of Truro. So they come here, right? And they re-excavate the pit. They're going down, 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 down. Every 10 feet, they hit a layer of oak logs. On top of some of the oak logs, there's charcoal. Some of them, there's coconut fiber. You gotta remember, the nearest coconut tree is 2,500 miles from here. Some of them had rocks, little small little stones. The reports are there was something carved on the stone. But they're not looking for stones. They're not looking for coconut fiber. They're not looking for that. They're looking for treasure. So a lot of these things, when they do find them, and this is going right back in history, were just thrown by the wayside. If it's not shiny, or as David would say, it's not expendable, they weren't interested. That's how we've lost so much here. So they get down to 90 feet, right? That's where they find the stone, right? The stone, and we're still looking for the 90-foot stone. We're tracking down a number of leads, no success yet, but we're still looking. And the stone had marks on it, right? In fact, John Smith built his house right to the right of where that large maple tree is. And he put it in his fireplace, top of his fireplace. Hundreds of people saw the stone. There is no rubbing, there is no drawing, there is no photograph, and there was a photographic crew here in 1861. In fact, that's the earliest photo we have. And his house was still standing at that point because he died in 1856, but they were using his house and his barn as kind of headquarters for the operations that were going on. Hundreds of people saw the stone. Even back in 1803, there was a tourism faction that was going on. People were coming to the island to see people digging for treasure. Right? You can see in that 1861 photograph, you can see ladies with long white dresses. They were coming here from Chester to see what was going on. Right? So it was their habit each day to take an iron bar and sound down to the next level. So this happened late on a Saturday night. Okay, they're at 90 feet. The men are exhausted. They're working double shifts. They're working by lantern and candle. Basically, 80 feet below where we're standing, somewhere in this area here. So they hit something at 98 feet, not 100. And it was a hard sound, right? It was a solid sound. So they knew, okay, we must be here. You know? So they thought, okay, well, this is late on Saturday. We're not going to worry about it. We'll come back. We'll come back on Monday. You know, and being good Presbyterians that they weren't going to work on Sunday. So they come back on Monday morning, and some reports said it was Sunday. And what do they find but 60 feet of water in the pit? And that's been the problem ever since, trying to control the water. Right? So just to give you a little grade 12 physics here, at two levels in the money pit area, and according to some reports it was 30 and 70, and some it's 40 and 60, they went through 12 to 15 inches of a putty-like substance. Right? So in between all these layers is soil that has started to compress. So you have the oak logs, you have the putty-like substance, and on top of that you have soil, right? So they remove the putty-like substance. In fact, there's reports of the workers taking it home and glazing around their windows with it. So just to go back to grade 12 physics here for a second, if you take a straw and you put it in a glass of water, water will go up the straw. Right? It has to find equilibrium. Right? However, you take another straw and you put your finger on the top of that straw and you put it in a glass of water. You can try this experiment yourself. No, I didn't invent it. And the air pressure contained in that straw prevents the water from going up. It's the same principle here. By removing that putty-like substance at those two levels, it's like taking your finger off the straw. It activated the hydraulics from Smith's Cove. And there's a flood tunnel coming from Smith's Cove, which is 520 feet long, enters a money pit at 110 feet below the surface. And the water started to come through. And over that 24, 36-hour period, when they stopped working, that's how it filled this thing. And that's been the problem ever since. There are probably 15 major shafts in this area. And I would say maybe 700 boreholes in this area. Over 1,000 in the eastern end of the island, and over 32 major shafts on the eastern end of the island. It's like a giant pincushion. Now, if you saw last year, you'll see where that large pipe is. Yeah. That's C1. That's mine. That's my borehole. When Rick said, okay, you can punch a hole anywhere you want. You got a shot. Where do you want to put it? I was very humble about that. I'm not part of the ownership group. They find $1 million tomorrow. I'm going to change my life. Probably not. I might get a book out of it. I will get a book out of it. But there won't be, you know, I'm not going to walk away with, you know, with $50 million because I'm not. But at 171, we entered a void. And there is a void, there's a 21-foot high void from 171 to 192, and we're back in bedrock. And if you saw the show, there's a shiny gold thing, as David would say. The camera showed it. I can tell you this, we're very interested in the shiny gold thing. As David would say, it's maybe expendable. Now, south of that is what we call V1, V2, and V3. In V2, they hit coconut fiber. In V3, they hit the suspected vault, which you can see a sample of it in the building. They go through cement, then a horizontal oak, and then a vertical oak. And that relates to Fred Blair, that when he was here in 1893, it was called the Oak Island Treasure Company. In 1897, he had his drill rig set up in somewhere in this area, we have no idea, at 90 feet. And drilled through an iron barrier at 126, and then through puddle clay from 126 to 153. Now, puddle clay means clay that's been worked by human hands, right? It's not the hard clay. Very easy to go through.
That's not even the tight space, so yeah, I shot
The reason is up to 7 feet 4 inches. It's a dead line for
That's terrifying.
David Blankenship went down and he kind of
I like my diving to include fish.
at 140.
Not that.
Beach trouble. Then through about 6 inches of coconut fiber. And it depends, it varies by whatever report you read. 4 inches of decayed eelgrass, 5 feet of beach stones, these little granite stones, and a cobblestone effect. And below that, they found 5 box drains. These are long pieces of slate formed into a box, wrapped in coconut fiber. Now, the reason they use coconut fiber, it acts as a filter, so the sand doesn't clog the drain. The coconut fiber that was taken out of